In the temple, one of the Pharisees threw a coin at Jesus and said, "Should we pay our taxes?" The posture of our heart and how it relates to money is something that can sometimes send us right into weeds. It leads to divorce, it leads to bankruptcy, it leads to problems because people can't necessarily understand the posture of our heart. I have got a great guest with us today. We're going to have Sam dive into how perspective rooted in God, directly applied to finances, actually creates lasting success. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Christian Influencer Podcast. I'm Alex, and as always, we have with us Brian Shikakawa.
Hi, I'm Brian Shikakawa, founder and owner of the Christian Influencer Podcast.
Awesome. And then today, we have got a really cool guest with us today. We have got Sam Mendez Correa. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry, I'm as white as it comes, so I apologize if I got it wrong. But okay, beautiful. Okay, and then today what we're going to do is we're going to dive a little bit into Sam's story and kind of learn a little bit more about how Christ has walked with him. So Sam, why don't we start off with just what is it you do, how did you get there, and what kind of services do you provide to your customers?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. And my name's Sam, like they said. And then what we do, we're a conglomerate, so it's like a venture capital firm. And then in there we have, our funding side, which is our biggest side, because it opens the door for, those people that are getting funding to, be able to invest into different pools and things like that. So our biggest thing is, so we own Next Level, the brand, which is under Next Level. We have Next Level Funding, which is, like I said, our biggest part of it. So that's where 90% of our clients, leads, etc., they go through there first, right? And then from there branches out, either continuing with us or they just get funding and they go do their own thing, right? Because a lot of clients come to us for real estate that they already found, right? They found the real estate deal. They're ready to rock and roll with the real estate deal. So all they want is $100,000 and nothing with us, right? So we just get them the funding and we go from there. We're a performance-based model. I think it's super important nowadays. You got to be careful out there. So what that means is, if I don't get you any money, I don't make any money. Simple as that. Like there's, can't get simpler than that. So the biggest risk you run is wasting maybe 2 to 3 days. But our team's pretty good enough to day one of a call to full on transparently tell you, hey, we're probably going to get you $0, just so you know. Do you still want to move forward and try? And then that ultimately becomes up to you. Other than that, our team's also confident enough to be like, hey, if there's no hidden things, like from the past, right? Let's say if you're a felon and you don't want to tell us, then we could get you a line of credit, right? So little things like that.
Oh, very cool. So you kind of walk them through the process as well as actually having the connections that are needed to make sure that they're going to the right places when it's needed.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's actually really cool because if you think about it, one of the biggest things we run into all the times, because we do a lot of business networking, is the fact of it's like, okay, I know the need that I have, but I can't necessarily guarantee that who I'm going to find is going to be the right fit.
Exactly.
And so having someone who can kind of bridge that gap is really cool. So awesome. That's a good field to be in, Sam. I'm going to point out some things that I see in your background there, though. I see a Marine thing, and I see that grit and all that kind of stuff. I'm an old Army guy myself, so why don't we take a step back and instead of what you do now, why don't we go kind of earlier? And where was Sam when he was growing up? How did you kind of, get to where you're at? And most important of all, when did you finally start coming to the concept of who Christ is and how he plays in your life?
Right. So, I was blessed. I started right from the cradle, right? My grandpa was a pastor for 47 years. Ended up retiring, just being an advisor of that church, right? So I grew up, my first time on stage, I was like 6 years old playing the drums, moved to piano, guitar, and all the way to worship leader, youth group leader, the whole 9 yards. So I grew up there, right, in church. And then, I have a pretty big impact story that was really early in my life, which we could discuss now or after. But, going through the timeline, but which kind of like solidified like the foundation. And it's funny.
Well, let's go ahead and double click there, because you're saying that's what we're here for. What was it that kind of, because obviously it's something that shook your world a little bit.
Yes, for sure. So I feel like I tell everybody it's the story that like God was like, this guy's going to go through so much in his life. I already know his whole story. So I need to do something that's going to make sure he'll never deny me. It's the way I put it, right? So I'm going to shake his world up so young, so fast that no matter where he is in the world, he'll never be able to deny me. No matter what he's going through, if he's drinking, being crazy, dying, whatever, he'll always know and fear denial, right? So the story is, I was 4, almost 5 years old, and my grandpa was like, since I was a boy, he's going with me everywhere, right? Like, I don't care if it's in a hospital, in a prison, like, he's gonna know. He's gonna know at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Doesn't matter how old he is, and that's what he would do. Like, my grandpa was one of his biggest gifts was, which I grew up living this, especially going back and forth to Europe. When my grandpa would go, I'd go with them for the summer. I would see, his gift was I forgot the terminology, but like expelling, demons. Like, that was a thing. A lot of people live.
Exorcism.
Yeah, well, yeah, but not like how the movies put it, right? But yeah, so like prayer and he was also something that impacted me really big was he was, which I know, not dogging on any pastors or anything like that, but he was the one that doesn't matter where you are in the world, he'll make it, right? He didn't believe in prayer over the phone. So like, and then what was really cool was if he got a phone call 2 a.m, old phone ringing, whole house wakes up, he'd answer, "Hey, my daughter's dying. She had a car accident. It's 6 hours away." He's like, "I'll be there." My grandma, never forget, she'd roll out of bed, not even a goodbye or anything, and she'd be on her knees till he'd walk back in the house. Never forget. Anyways, so the story is, my mom had, I was super young, so I saw my grandpa, like I said, in church, the way he acted on the streets, evangelizing. This is in New Jersey, New York area, as much as he can. He was from Portugal. So, bad English, but, he would just do it over and over and over. I call it, being an entrepreneur now, I call it belittling himself, because he worked nights at Macy's, right? Because he made no money being a pastor, especially at that time. So he did alterations middle of the night because he didn't speak English, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., at Macy's, so it's like, that influenced me a lot too. But anyways, my mom got cancer in her uterus, which went to the ovarian, right? And long story short, completely, quote unquote, infested her. She was fully infested. The doctor's name is Dr. Baraneski from St. Barnabas Hospital in New Jersey. Reason I'm bringing him up is because he was not only a world-renowned cancer doctor, cancer research, he was also a pretty outspoken atheist. And anyways, at this time, my grandpa's been a pastor for about 30 years already, 30 to 35 years at this time, right? And we're all human, right? And then anyway, so my mom, she's sick, fast forward to the day, she's in bed, she's about 70 pounds, looks literally like a skeleton, clinically blind because of her high fever, 106 fever, won't go down, nothing they can do. Dr. Baraneski, I'll never forget, he had a little bow tie, that's what he wore, and he walks into the room and he goes like, "Hey, just gonna let you know, prep this little dude. He's about to lose his mom. Like, there's nothing. Like, when I mean infested, he said, picture it this way. Her whole body inside is black. It's not, but like, he's just like, picture it. Like, that's how bad it is. She's not passing tonight. Like, passing from tonight, right? So she'll end up passing away." So again, not trying to brag on my grandpa, but he traveled the whole world. So in that room is pastors from all over the world. Brazil, Japan, Pastor Zani from Mozambique, a pastor from Angola, South Africa, Brazil, already, Colombia. There's 20, 30, again, this is 1998. So it's when none of this like, oh, only a significant other could, no, there's 30 people in that room. The St. James Hospital, doors open. There's and chain prayers, praying over her, oil, everything you could think of, It got to the point where my grandpa, right, he's human, it's her daughter, and he's about to say something, which when I was young, I never understood what happened in that situation. I'm sitting in the room, and my grandma's like, "Stop it. You're going to regret what you're about to say." And he's like, "I don't get it. I've been a pastor for years." Like, she's about to leave a little baby behind. For years, I've prayed for people that I never met in my life, like random cousins of people that are possessed or dying, and they're good. It's like, what is going on? But my grandma's like, "I get it. Let his will be done. You're going to regret it." So now that I'm older, I think he was about to say, "I don't believe in you anymore," kind of thing, right? It's like, "God, you're not real." And she caught it. She's like, "Nope, you're not going to say nothing." And anyway, so I'm seeing all this, right? I'm just there. Like hello, like what's going on? I'm like little, like hurry up. Like why are we here every day, every day, every day? And I look at my grandma, and I'm like, Grandma, like, can I, pray for my mom, like Grandpa does? And that at that time to me was hands over her head, because that's what he did. Like, that's why he traveled, because he wouldn't do it. His belief was him touching and speaking in the name of Jesus that's what healed. Not him healing, it's just being able to show the devil, like, I'm stepping on your head right now in this room with this person, because God cares enough to bring me here. They're going to be healed. So my grandma's like, looks at me, tears in her eyes, and, she's like, of course. So I'm about almost 5 years old. Like, I'm about a month away from being 5. So, I see my grandpa pray all the time, and I'm just being as innocent as you can think of. Put my hand over my, mom's head, and I'm like, literally as innocent as you could think a child would pray. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, Jesus, please heal my mom. I'm tired of this hospital food, word for word. Like, I want to go home, and I want her to make my favorite food. Like, hello, what's going on? Literally as innocent as you could think of. Never forget. Pastor start tearing up, crying. I'm telling you, like, now that I'm older, I remember a little bit more clear. Like, I'm talking about like a skeleton. Like, she's gone. I start hearing little footsteps, like heels. It's Dr. Baraneski and his leather shoes. And he's like, what is going on? Her temperature starts to drop from 106 to 101 to 98. And I'm just like this, like looking around. And my grandpa's like, what is going on? My grandpa that's seen miracle after miracle. Just like, now it's full human based, not even spiritual, right? He's like, what's going on? And my mom, I'm still there on a little step stool, hand over. My mom wakes up and she's like, my boy, remember, she was clinically blind. She's seeing me. She's like, my son. And I'm like, mommy, come on. Like, I'm asking for, like, hello, why are you sleeping so much? What's going on? Like, not even giving her space. And then word for word, Dr. Baraneski looks at my grandpa and says, whatever this kid believes in, I need to know today. And anyways, the next day, my mom rolls out of there in her wheelchair, cancer-free. Her body shows no signs of cancer, except for the fact that her uterus was removed. So that's right. Obviously, it got removed, but shows no sign that it was ever there. Rolls out. Obviously, she is 70 pounds, 70, whatever pounds. The next day. Because at that time, it was different, right? Like, I'm talking about, if you're good, you're good. You go home, right? It's not this protocol, blah, blah, blah. And he accepted Jesus in that room that day with about 15 to 20 other pastors. And again, it's the funniest thing because my grandma's like, you're still there, like just wanting to eat. You're just like, what the heck? Like, okay, mommy woke up. Can we go home now? And I think that was that was God saying, like, it's either now or never, because I know what he's going to go through. I know what he's going to see in life. I know what he's going to experience in life. And he's going to experience so many things that might want him to be like, God's not real. But he'll never be able to deny me now. Because I have an atheist that's going to walk into this room, cancer research doctor that will believe in me. I have, there's paperwork that states that she's pretty much dead. It's a coma, like 106 fever. It wouldn't drop. It's been 3 days. Her brain's getting fried, if you want to be very technical, with the heat. My mom's still here. My mom's here now, actually. She's upstairs. Visiting from, because my son's going to be 2 in October. So she's 71 years old right now. So
that kind of reminds me of just having the childlike faith. And you're literally a child, having that faith. God, heal my mom. I need to go eat.
Yeah, it was literally not. According to my grandma, it wasn't even like heal my mom. It was like wake her up. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, wake up. You know what I mean? And exactly that. It was like childlike faith, and then, but it became a story forever, right? And I remember high school, like, oh, God's not real. Like, everybody, like, be careful with peer pressure. Never had it because I'm like, that's cool for you. And I'm like, the only thing I feel so bad is you can't experience what I did, because I live my life on it's like my uncle's really famous, not famous, but he says this a lot, but like the see it to believe it. I was blessed enough to see it to believe it. kind of thing in my experience, right? Obviously, I also with everything my grandpa's done and like other miracles I've seen and etc. But me experiencing it myself, like I've been able to, I could say like I saw it to believe it, which is huge.
That's so powerful.
I would say it's almost similar to, it's not exactly because like the 6-year-old daughter died, but Jesus knew, like on his way, not only on his way with the crowd, but healed the woman that was bleeding for like over a dozen years or something like
Right.
that. Then knew that he was going to awaken or resurrect this daughter. And he only wanted the people of faith in that room. So it's similar-esque. Because
Yep.
like she was on her way to die with 106 fever.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm thinking you brought up so many, like there's lessons in your testimony there. Like when people ask about, there's laying of hands a thing. Yes, it is. But
Sure.
don't forget also the lesson of the centurion who knew that when he asked Jesus to help heal one of the people in his household, and he said, "I know that you have the authority because I know who you are." It was one of those like, you don't have to go touch her right now. You can do it right here where you're at. And he had
Right.
that kind of faith. And Jesus said, "You know what? You're right.
Your faith healed them.
This is what faith means." Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and so there's there's some powerful stuff in there. Okay. So Sam, I know that I hate to say it. I almost want to I almost feel like we might need a second session just with Sam, because just that one alone is already going to be, we could dive into that 1,000 ways.
No, for sure. I agree. I agree 100%.
But what I want to do next, Sam, is I want to take it a little bit further. So now I'm an old military guy myself, served overseas, saw some things as well, and I was an atheist growing up. I didn't come to Christ till later.
Oh, wow.
You kind of had that steadfastness ahead of time. So for me, one of the obstacles I had to overcome was, if there's a good God, how can he let such bad things happen? Because I'd witnessed them.
Right.
But then on the other side, you're like, no, I know bad things happen, but I know there's a good God, and I've seen him at work.
Right.
And so that's like, I didn't hit that stage till later. So that's just really cool that he kind of, and like you said, I think the main reason why is just think of the people in that room. He didn't just touch your life. He touched your mother. He touched your grandfather. He touched the doctor who he saved in that moment. There's
Right.
so many, and that's how God works. Is we don't think it makes sense, but suddenly he does something, and an entire community is changed through one event.
Exactly. Like if any, because we're all human, right? If any pastor in there had like a mini doubt, we're all human, right? Like Pastor Zani, he travels all of Africa in the heat. Like, what if one day he's like, man, is this worth it? Like my grandpa's like, that day he's like, man, this is worth it. Like, I'm gonna keep doing Mozambique, Angola, Zimbabwe, Senegal. I'm gonna keep going.
love it.
I'm not saying he did say that, but my grandpa's like, hey, remember, the pastor Adam was from Japan. His goal was to go to China. Apparently, 2 years later, he went to China. He's like, I got this. Like, and my grandpa's like, hey, he never told me it was because of this, but you could have opened the door of like, man, I'm gonna die. He died for me. I'm gonna live for him in China, and if I die, I die. It is what it is.
Amen.
And he didn't die. Fun fact: he's actually still alive, Pastor Adam, in Japan. He went back to Japan.
Oh, good.
But,
And
yeah.
and one of the battlegrounds we know for sure is definitely in the China, arena
sure.
right now.
For
Okay,
sure.
so I want to make sure we stay on honoring our timeline here. So
Yes.
as we get past this life shattering event, part of me almost thinks of like C.S. Lewis had a thing where his mother dying. She did die, and that was something that still kind of pushed him towards the direction he needed. Your mother was saved, and it pushed you towards the direction that you needed. And
Right.
what I love is how God knows those answers. So now you've got this solidified faith. You know that there's a God. You've seen him at work, and you're obviously going to go step into a world that doesn't necessarily agree. And especially, you've got other things that you're going to be facing here in the near future. So how do you go from a child who is fully committed and has a family that's committed to Christ to saying, okay, well, let's go do things like join the Marine Corps and become a financier, and because we never know the path that's in front of us until we start walking it. So how do we navigate through those waters?
Right. So I went to high school, started wrestling, etc. Like I said, grew up in church, and then some huge drama happened in the church. Not with me, but it just kind of like left a bunch of us devastated and stuff like that. And so then, anyways, ended up going to Marines right after high school, and that's where I started straying away. But again, never like not no mentality of God's not real, but it was like smoking cigarettes. Not saying that's a bad thing, but I started doing a lot of that. But that's one thing I thank God a lot. Is one thing I always feared was drugs, which helped me a lot because of seeing, the whole, just fearing it, right? Like the getting hooked on it. So I started doing drinking, but not like a crazy person, but like I just started drinking, right? Sometimes I'd get buzzed, drunk, and then, but yeah, so I did it because I wanted to help people. It was like my way of helping people. And it didn't work out as well as I thought it would of helping, right? It was, I ended up coming home with PTSD and stressing out and all this stuff. The entrepreneurial blessing from it came from a good friend of mine that his father was actually a pastor, and we ended up opening a business together early on, right? It was a construction business, and he grew it while I was there, vice versa. I'd send him money because I wasn't spending a lot of money, so I'm like, hey, here's $3,000 for the business. 3-4 months go down the road, hey, here's another $3,000 for the business, and he was able to scale it. And then that was one of my first exits was that. But yeah, so the childhood upbringing helped a lot, but I ended up straying for about a good 5 years. And what I mean by straying is like not reading my Bible as much, right? Literally maybe once a month, if that. But never not believing. That was the best part about it. Was the never not believing. But yeah, and like I said, a lot of stuff I went through during those periods, I was like, I could have said God's not real, but I couldn't say it. It was hard because I'm like no, like I remember vividly my mom looking like a skeleton. Me being an adult now, no reason she should have went home. No reason, Yeah. So, anyways, I think I got. Anyways, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's pretty much.
Well, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now you serve in the military and you get to pick up some bad habits there, as some of us do. I will admit I might have had a drink or two and might have had a cigarette once or twice.
Right.
So it's just one of the things that just kind of comes with the culture because
right.
It's almost that tough guy mentality. Like if you can handle the things that hurt you.
I agree. Yeah, but
but you move on and you get your first exit out of a successful business, and then you start learning some of the concepts that go with that. So how did you then decide? Okay, well, so now obviously there's this real need for putting the right people in the right places with the right people for the right need. And how do you bridge that gap? How do you identify that need, and then how do you fill it?
So the biggest thing was, it's funny because you mentioned networking events and things like that. And the biggest thing from personal friends to events is I have all these ideas. I don't have capital. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started seeing that, which is true. Capital and marketing are the two biggest struggles in a business, right? And I'll give a perfect example. There's a gentleman, Poop Soldiers, right? All they do is pick up dog poop. And he's out of Houston. He had I'm going to use it as he had the blessing of having the capital and the marketing. It's a multi-million dollar company. So what I'm trying to get to is they pick up poop. But guess what? The right capital and the right marketing, I feel like any business could grow, right? Convenience. We're in a country of convenience, right? 100%. So I wanted to, bridge the gap. I don't know how to do marketing, but it's like, how can I bridge the gap of, funding, right? Usually a business needs about 30 to 50 grand. And, COVID kind of hit and showed me wow, it's like if somebody had an extra $500 a month, it'd go a long way during COVID. A long way. And I saw businesses close. I saw franchises close. Well, the franchisee closed their store, right? Not the whole company, right? But I saw a Cold Stone close. The guy was there for 11 years. No capital. He's like, if somebody gave me 20 grand, I'd be good. Why couldn't he get 20 grand? He didn't know where to go. Cold Stone wouldn't give it to him because because franchisees could take loans out with the company. He had a 40 grand loan out with them. So they said, no, we're not giving you a little more. He couldn't pay his rent. The right avenues, at that time, I didn't have the knowledge, but if I had the knowledge, I already know I would have been able to get him a minimum of 25,000 with deferred payments, et cetera, low interest rate, and then look at his personal credit and get him another 60 to 80 grand interest free for 12, at the time was 18 months. They don't do that no more. It's about 12 to 14 now. But I don't know how to do that now. At the time, I apologize. Right. So, I wanted to bridge the gap. So I just started building knowledge and learning on how to do it. And, trying to figure out like hardest close is like, hey, give me $100 or even $50. And, I don't want to waste time, but I wanted to leave that mentality, right? And just go performance based. And it's just been a blessing because it's like I said, at about 2 years ago, your biggest risk would be time. Now we've gotten way better at that because, with learning, because 2 years ago we'd look at your profile, let's say you have a 720, we're like, oh, we'll get you funding, but then there's more. It's not just at 720, right? There's more to it. There's the type of business you have. You don't need cash flow. That's a blessing to get up to 50 grand, right? You don't need cash flow, but there's more to it. So I wanted to, now I don't even, sometimes I'll mention the time thing, but I don't even mention anymore because we're able to look at your profile. Now we utilize AI, we call it funding snapshot, which is without your social even, because some clients get nervous. We're able to get a soft pull and a good picture of what we got working, what you're working with. So now it's not even really a time waste. Like we'll tell you, hey, you're not looking good, and yeah, anyways, that's something I really wanted to do. And I feel like performance based has been, like I said, a blessing. It helps people. They get 100 grand before they give us, our 10 grand because we charge 10% on the back end. But, and it's a win-win all the way around, in my opinion.
I love it. It's interesting because I'm going to, forgive me, I'm going to almost put you on the spot because you're a Christian, you follow Christ, and you're specifically dealing with the concept of lending and borrowing money.
Right.
And Lord knows if there is something that can tear a church apart, it will be
100%.
how people do that one. It tears apart marriages, it tears apart relationships, it tears apart
Yep.
a lot of things. So since you have a very unique aspect and view into this, what would be your take if someone were to just say, hey, look, if someone, let's go far one end of it and they say, God shouldn't be involved in my money. That's one argument people do is like, it's my money, I work for it, it shouldn't really be his business. And some people believe that. Or there's the other side of it where they're saying, well, if God didn't directly give it to you specifically, you shouldn't borrow it and you shouldn't lend and you shouldn't do any of those because those are all evil. And the truth actually isn't on either end of those spectrums. There's a middle ground where God works and he has a lot to say about all of that. So I'd love to hear your take on, since you're right in that field, how do you address that one with your faith?
I agree. I agree with you. So a lot of it comes to, kind of vetting our clients. I've been in positions where it's like, we've gotten somebody funding and it's like, we know they're using it probably not in the right way. Almost to a whole spectrum of really bad way of using it. As you can tell. But I agree. So it's funny because I had this conversation with, Dave Ramsey once because he doesn't like debt. And, but here's the thing I don't agree though is he had to get into debt in the beginning to get to where he's at. So I brought it up. I'm like, I don't think it's fair because you have a $300 million net worth, right? And it's easy not to go into debt now. It's easy to utilize your own funds, right? Your own cash flow. So the thing with me is in order for a business to succeed, right? You need, so like, I feel like, I mean, I don't want to take it out of context, but when Jesus says, obey authority and the law of the land, like, the authority is there. So I feel like, you're utilizing the bank. The bank's there for, that you're able to leverage it to grow what you have, utilize it for the kingdom of God, obviously from your works, pay your tithes. If you believe in that, I mean, I do all the way because that's another thing. I've seen crazy things happen when you do tithes and I've seen crazier things happen when you don't. So, so it's like, I get what you're saying. It's like a little sticky situation in that point, but I don't agree with like, I think everything comes from God, period. Right. Including the knowledge, including who he set there. Like, if it's not God's will, they're not going to be set there. Right. I just feel like, whoever's in position of power is set there to test us, our faith. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what position they are. Right. Whoever the president is, right. Like people like, oh, screw this president. I'm like, Jesus also said, obey him, right? So you're stuck in a situation. It doesn't mean follow him, but if he says like, hey, come over here with me really quick, let's kill this person, right? But it's like, hey, obey the laws. So I feel like there's banking laws, there's opportunities out there for a reason, and you could leverage that, right? for good. You know what I mean? In my opinion, you can leverage it for good in many different ways. But the problem is it all comes down to the person, right? And you can't control everybody. We try to advocate, don't go shopping with the money, because it's going to put you in a hole, right? Which causes you to be mad at us for no reason, because all we did was get you funding, right? We didn't tell you to, go shop and buy a car with it, and things like that.
I love it. Yeah, I think
Oops.
what I'm hearing from you is almost like the parable of the talents.
Right.
The master is the one who had all the resources, and he's the one who chose who was going to get what, and then the job was for everybody to put it to use. And the one who he actually scolded was the one who simply did nothing. And so I
Right.
think that a lot of times when people are more interested in sitting around and doing nothing because they're afraid of taking on some of these risks, they're missing the point of those risks are designed for creating an intermingling and creating an interdependency, which is what we're designed to do. So
Right. Right.
good
And I
way,
agree.
yeah, good
Yeah,
way to
because I feel
describe that.
like if I'm not mistaken, like Jesus was. A lot of people have come to me like, oh, you like Jesus didn't like taxes, and I'm like, I don't think it was he didn't like taxes. He didn't like the fact that Matthew was taking a little bit extra.
Right.
And they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, if you dive deep a little bit, so, your government has taxes, pay your taxes, people would pay to Caesar. When you look deep, Matthew was like, there's a little extra there. There's like, hey, you owe this, give it to me now. There was no, and I'll use this as an example. People get really upset. He had no, he wasn't lenient. He wasn't like caring if somebody couldn't pay it. When you dive deep into the IRS, they give you an option to do payment plans. That's them being lenient. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Again, I'm not saying you have to always, obviously there's loopholes and proper ways to structure your business, but I'm just saying, like, that's a concept right there in itself.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful that you're bringing up like it's the same concept. Like you even brought it up was render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's, and just making sure that you have the right perspective, I think, as you go through that. So, Sam, thanks so much, man. Some great stuff, some great tips. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
we're coming up on our time here, so I'm going to have
Yeah.
to let me just turn it back to you one more real quick time. If you could just answer, uh, if someone were to ask you, hey, if there's one thing that you learned when it comes to God and money, that is like just one answer. Do this, and you'll at least be starting in the right direction. What is that first step that you would give anyone about making sure that they can kind of mold those two things that often seem like they're in conflict?
So the biggest thing with me when God and money is he can give and take away. Like that to me is huge, right? So you're sitting, in this position of like, which happens a lot. I mean, I fall fault to it, right? Where it's like when you're struggling, you're praying. When you're up there, you're forgetting. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, the best thing I could tell is like, just, honor God with everything you do, right? The part of honoring is tithing. I feel tithing will change your life, in many different ways. I've made hundreds of thousands in a month, not tithed. And I'm like, whoa, where's it at? It's not stolen. It's just like, where is it? Right. And I've made 5 grand in a month and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be short on this, and that. It's, 5 days away from the end of the month. I'm sitting on an extra there's 3,200 in there. I'm like, what the heck? But let me check my bills and the bills were paid. It just, so, that to me is the biggest thing, especially in business, because, everybody's like, oh, they're struggling. They're praying for it. They're praying for that breakthrough. The breakthrough comes, they forget. And, he'll give and take away. I mean, it's happened to, Job. I mean, perfect example, right? Literally perfect example because he got tenfold on the back end, right? And again, he's not an example of forgetting. It's just his example is he was given and he was taken and then given,
Couldn't
right?
agree more. I was even
Yeah,
thinking of Job actually as you were thinking that, so that's awesome.
yeah,
And then the only caveat I ever throw in there whenever I teach on Job is just to remember that if you go into a Job situation with the mentality that the reason you're going to do it is for that tenfold at the end, your heart's not right and you're not going to see it. If you
exactly,
do it like Job did and just say, look, my job is to honor God and let him
right,
decide.
right,
Don't be surprised then if you see a return. But,
right,
it's one of those things of that you shouldn't, the return's not the goal, honoring God is the goal.
100%,
Sam, that's some beautiful stuff, man. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us.
absolutely. Thank
And
you.
Brian, any parting notes? He didn't even unmute. He's, nope, I'm good. Yeah, it was good. Okay. As always, just remember, if you guys follow Christ, you're already an influencer. And together, we are CIC. Make sure that you click the like button, smash on that subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. And if you want to be a member of the podcast, just remember to reach out, and we'll send you guys the link so you guys can join.